What's happening, folks? I'm Nick. This is Wales in the Movies. One sentiment I hear quite a lot is that there are hardly any films set in Wales. While I'd agree there are not enough films made and set here, there are in fact more than you'd realise, and I'm hoping you might even discover a couple today. What I do think is definitely true to say is that there are nowhere near enough successful or Hollywood depictions of Wales, and today in this video I'm going to be looking at why that is still the case in 2020. Separating these reasons into their own little categories was a lot harder than I thought, and it's kind of based on my own pet theories, and I think a lot of these reasons kind of interact with each other and maybe even feed off each other. But anyway, today we're going to be looking at why our own unique Welsh identity is still invisible on international and TV movie screens worldwide. Let's go.
First I saw Doug Gray in A Picture Ever After with Drew Barrymore, where he plays romantic Prince Charming, and then I saw him in the Scottish film Twin Town.
Reason 1. Americans don't get Wales.
This was actually offered up as a reason why a recent Hollywood project was moved to Ireland and then eventually ditched. So I think it kind of comments on the truth that a lot of Americans don't understand Wales and that this is a problem. Now, I know there are plenty of Americans and plenty of people in the world at large who have been exposed to Cymru and have knowledge of it, and good for them. But my research, and I did kind of write a dissertation which is based on this, points to the idea that anywhere between 75 and 90% of the world overseas outside of the UK has no knowledge about Wales whatsoever. And this, I feel, puts screenwriters who wish to explore Wales, its history and identity, under a particular kind of burden.
Reason 2. The films are not Welsh enough.
Now, you may call this backward or insular or nationalist or whatever you want to throw at me. And, you know, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you. It's irritating to see overt nationalism of any variety thrust into a mainstream movie or TV show. But Wales, I feel, is kind of an exception in this, mainly because we are a stateless nation and also because of the deficit that I describe in point 1. The biggest case in point was The Bastard Executioner back in 2015, the TV show. Now, this was the first ever major network TV show or movie that was focused on a historical Welsh and medieval setting. Yet when you look at the show, it's got nothing really Welsh about it at all. Now compare and contrast this with Outlander, which started the year before, which is set in Scotland. Outlander is replete with Scottish imagery and tropes, and it's gone on until its 6th season, yet The Bastard Executioner was cancelled after 1. Outlander is also very, very Scottish. Every episode reminds you of such. The Bastard Executioner, we get what? I mean, Ed Sheeran? There's no Welsh imagery, no Welsh language, no Welsh culture, no Welsh feeling, and there's nothing in The Bastard Executioner to distinguish us. And this includes...
Reason 3. There's no historical conflict.
The Bastard Executioner puts its story in episode 1 among the Welsh Wars of Independence. And you may be thinking, have some of this, right? But then it just totally drops that narrative after the first 2 episodes. Have Americans, have the world at large, heard of the Welsh Wars of Independence? Have they heard of Gwenllian the Brave, Rhodri Mawr, Prince Llewellyn, or Owain Glyndŵr? Well, why not? Are these stories any less valid than Bonnie Prince Charlie, William Wallace, Michael Collins? Do they have any less dramatic potential? In the same year that Hollywood made Braveheart, Rob Roy and Michael Collins for the Scots and the Irish, we got If my mic wasn't attached to my shirt, this would now be the point where I dropped it. Outlander, Braveheart, Highlander. These stories must be a marketing department's dream, and Hollywood is then able to feed off a steady stream of references, stories and characters already existing about Ireland and Scotland. Yet there's still no Welsh imagery, no Welsh feeling for writers to take forward and use as shorthand. And this also, I think, relates to our failure in
Reason 4. Unfocused storytelling and marketing.
the lack of any Welsh presence in the historical dramas also limits us and hinders us in all the other genres. A film or TV show which is set in Wales but has nothing distinctively Welsh about it is a pretty fuzzy sales pitch and prospect, right? And it's often reflected, I feel, in the names we give our films. So considering how few and far between Welsh films actually are, it's remarkable and frustrating just how many of them have had to change their titles to translate to a US audience. I mean, it may seem trivial to you, but a film's title is essential. It's its first sales pitch to producers and funders. It's also its first connection with its potential audience. Tell me, how can a film called The Baker be called Assassin in Love for the US market? How can a film called Plots with a View, I mean, what does that mean, Plots with a View, when it's translated into Undertaking Betty for the US market? These unconfident titles suggest a lack of focus and clarity about what these stories want to say, who they're about, and who they're for. In terms of the British or Welsh homegrown films set in Wales, this fuzziness and confusion can also include genre.
Reason 5. Choose your genre.
Another result of the burden that I describe in point 1 is this tendency we've got just to shove too much stuff into our stories. Since Kevin Allen successfully did it in '97 with Twin Town, we've got this habit of uncomfortably straddling multiple genres in our films, often trying to manufacture comedy where none is naturally occurring. And this need for quirkiness often makes these films tonally uneven. It also makes them confusing, often boring, and definitely very, very hard to sell. Look at Mr. Nice from 2010. How can the story ingredients of a man like Howard Marks produce anything other than a worldwide hit movie? Yet somehow we managed it. In truth, there are loads of reasons interacting with each other as to why most Welsh films fail and never travel far internationally. And these reasons, like I say, are all kind of interacting with each other. But there's one overriding problem which connects all these films, and that is
Reason 6. The films are just not good enough.
however, whenever Wales is to finally come out to the world of pop culture, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with us. We've got many prominent writers and directors, actors, and even producers. Yet, so far, the films we've made, just at the end of the day, have not been good enough. If we want to make better films, we must choose better stories that audiences want to see, that producers want to buy and sell, and then market them accordingly. One day, my friends, one day. Now, I hope you can stick around. My next video next week is going to be exploring further Outlander and the importance of national branding and imagery. Diolch.